Well, the sound of the music and Ruben in the control room waving his arm tells me that we are now live on the air. You are listening to Disclosure, talk radio from the very good people at the Voice of Prophecy, and it is way past time for another bullpen episode. That's where ordinary guys or subordinary guys get together and talk about faith and religion and culture. And it's just men allowed. We're about to go up into the treehouse, pull up the ladder, hang out the sign that says, no girls allowed. However, we've started to figure out that a lot of you who listen to the bullpen are ignoring the sign. You're not actually guys. You're the wives of guys. And here's what I think is going on. I'm figuring out that for you, listening to this show is like the male equivalent or female equivalent, I guess, of eavesdropping on a slumber party. When we were kids, we always want to know, when girls have a slumber party, what do they talk about when we're not around? And now you're dying to know, what do men talk about when there are no women present? And so you're going to find that out here, right, guys? I don't know about you, right? When I was 15, I would have given anything to figure out what girls were talking about when there weren't guys around.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Is that mic live?
I'm not even.
Yeah, I wasn't hearing him either. Now it's live.
Now it's live.
Now you're there.
I'm there.
You
now.
sounded like you were way off in the distance, Alex. Are
Way
you
in the
having a
tunnel.
nap in the corner of the...
He's like
I
up
woke
higher
up
in the
now.
treehouse.
Yeah, I went higher.
All right, today in studio, introductions, guys. Who are you, and how many daughters do you have?
So, Kyle Warren?
And there's a reason for that question, because that's actually our topic today, dads and daughters. So, all right, Kyle.
There we go. Kyle Warren. I've got one daughter. She's 3 at this point.
Oh, buckle your seatbelt, my friend.
That's right. Yeah, we've already had a wild ride.
Yeah, it's going to get wilder, man.
Yeah.
So I'm Alex Rodriguez, and I have 4 daughters.
4 daughters. Age ranges?
7 months to 13.
Wow, 7 to 13. So one of them doesn't know who you are really quite yet, and the other one thinks you're the dumbest man on earth.
No, they all think I'm brilliant. Yeah, even the 7-month-old. She's
He's
already.
delusional.
You know, this is a
already
Bible-based
knows.
show. We are
We're
supposed to
not
tell
supposed
the
to lie
truth.
in here.
Yeah, I know. All right, next.
Palmer Alverson, and I have 2 daughters, and they are 16 and 18, basically.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah, buckle your seatbelt. My goodness. I am Sean Boonstra, and for better or for worse, your host. And I have 2 daughters, one 20 and one 17. And I don't know how that's possible to have daughters that age when you're only 31, but that's how that panned out.
Wow, you started early.
Yeah. Hey, maybe let's start here, because I did not have any sisters. And so I grew up in a testosterone-drenched environment, 3 boys, a mom who worked nights, and so we were unattended during the day and had access to power tools and firearms and all kinds of things that we probably shouldn't have had access to without supervision. And now I find I'm the only man in the house. I am the sole male figure in the house. And how about you guys? Did you have sisters growing up? And if you did, what was your impression about the difference between boys and girls? I mean, other than the obvious.
Man, I had 3 sisters in my original family, and then later on in life, I had 2 more stepsisters, so 5 sisters. And I would say that they were pretty typical, but I grew up in that environment with older sisters. They were all older than me.
Oh, you were the baby.
Yeah, I was the baby, so to speak, until my younger brother came
So what
along.
effect did that have on you? You're the only guy. Did they mother you or pick on you?
Maybe some of both. They were pretty good, but definitely, at times I think they were bossy, but they were helpful. They were nice.
So we always wondered what was wrong with you. Now we know.
Yeah, now you know. 5 sisters. 5 sisters.
Yeah. You guys, you have sisters?
Yeah, I have a younger sister. It went me, then my brother, and then my sister 4 years later. And I still don't understand women.
No.
I have no clue.
You write that big book of what we know about women.
It's all blank.
Yeah, blank pages.
Yeah, blank
1,000
pages.
of them. But
Yeah.
seriously, growing up though, you didn't have any impression with your sister? Like, girls are different this way. I mean, other than biology, of course. But.
Yeah, no, it's my sister. All the women in my family are very emotional, and I'm not. and so it was just kind of like,
You were a Vulcan, a
what
droid.
is going on here?
Really?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
seriously. I was just there's a lot of that, and just Yeah.
I like
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I've got one sister, and she was emotional, but she was a little violent when I was I was a young man.
Is she older than you?
She's
or-
older. She's my older
okay.
sister, and I remember
She was violent.
Yeah, I remember getting in an
That's what
argument
made-
with her on a TV program. I wanted to watch something on TV. She wanted to watch something different. I ended up winning somehow, but she stood behind the door in one of the bedrooms, but she had a pipe in her hand.
No, come
What?
on. What is
I
like-
tell you, no, I'm serious.
Is your
This-
family Sicilian? What? in the-
as soon as I walked out, she took a swing, man. That did, but that was my
Like a
sister.
metal
She was-
pipe.
it wasn't metal. It was like a hard
Okay.
plastic
Oh, okay.
pipe or
Well,
whatever.
a
but
PVC pipe. That's still
there
hurt.
was it'll hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they never actually
But,
found your other brother. She sunk
she
him at
had
sea.
already
Yeah.
taken care of him, but
Yeah.
but she was like that. She was very quick tempered. She's Hispanic and probably much more so from a character perspective than I am, and I'm just anything would set her off. But
More quick-tempered than you.
yes,
See,
yes, yeah.
way back then,
Wow,
that mean,
fiery.
crack pipe meant something different. She's going to
Yeah.
crack
She's
that
gonna
pipe.
crack your
Crack the
head.
pipe.
Yeah.
She's gonna get what she wants to get. But
I would
Wow.
say, Sean, with my sisters, I was reflecting on that question a bit more, and I'm going to use maybe a cliche word, but I think that they were more nurturing,
Really?
even as young as that age.
Did they try and dress you up?
I'm not going to talk about
Yes.
that.
Oh, they did too.
Oh.
Yes. Did you get a makeover?
Actually, so I'll confess this. Actually, at one point when I was probably, I don't know what age I was, and they decided that they actually wanted to give me a perm. So they actually gave me a perm. Okay, I have to admit that. But I was under duress. So
Yeah, that's
how
right.
old were
He's
you
got
when
his
you got the
fingers
perm? Have I
crossed.
seen this photo?
probably you
13.
haven't. No, I might have been 12. I don't know. They were like,
Oh.
yeah, and they were like, oh, this is going to be great.
That would
Yeah.
That
Was
would be
it?
under severe duress.
Stand
Was
up
it
for
great?
yourself, man.
Was it great?
No, it wasn't great.
Did they try to dress you? See, I had no sister.
No, they didn't try and dress me, but that's why my hair is all falling out now because of that perm.
You should
It's
sue
the
them.
chemicals.
You should sue them. Well, let's talk about being a dad to daughters. Let's move into adulthood. I didn't have sisters, and so I was dying to know what that would be like. I just entirely a male household, and now, of course, I'm the only male in the household. Let's talking about having daughters now. What are your earliest? Now, I guess yours is 3, so you're still in those earliest memories. But what are some of your early memories, or maybe favorite memories of having a daughter in the house? Looking at it from a father's perspective.
For me, I think part of it is psychological in my own mind. My son is the oldest, and so every time I saw him or thought of him, I sort of saw myself.
Okay.
And I just knew that eventually he would be me. But when I
Poor
first saw
kid.
my daughter,
Poor
exactly,
kid,
yeah,
yeah.
poor kid, man. But when I saw my daughter, it was different. It was like all of a sudden I'm her protector, and I need to shelter her somehow, which is probably not fair to say because he needs sheltering and protection as well. But for some reason, I just didn't see it that way. I just
Yeah.
kind of looked at it and said,
That's
he's gonna
not
be-
popular now with the next generation.
No,
I don't
no,
need
it's not at all.
protecting, but we are hardwired that way, I think,
Right.
because I felt the same thing. Like, and I would probably, I don't have sons, but I'd probably have a total double standard if I did.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
And
gonna
I
protect
see
the
that.
little
And
girl.
my wife tells me all the time, you need to treat the girls the same way.
No.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm scared
Yeah, well-
to do that.
My brother's got one of each, boy and a girl, and he admits right up front, I got a double standard. I'm going to protect her and make sure he lives dangerously.
I think I run into that too because I have 2 boys and 2 girls.
Yes, you
so
do.
I'm, my
Do you have a
boys are
double
younger.
standard? Do you have a double standard?
Yeah, in some things definitely. And I guess for me with these kind of thoughts going back, wow, it's like 17 some years at this point. For me, one of the things I can't separate, Sean, is that my daughter being my firstborn, then all the things about having a child just in general, just this being awestruck at the and humbled by being a parent and just the gift that God gave us to be able to have children. So all of that's encompassed in there. There's some, all sorts of great memories, just things, her curiosity, reading to her, spending time with grandparents, just all kinds of fun stuff. But for me, not necessarily gender specific, just having my first child.
I don't, not having had sisters, I had quite an education when the girls were little. I remember Natalie one day, and she had a little dress on, a church dress that she would wear, and there was a mirror in the front hallway, and I caught her twirling in front of the dress, looking at her. She's twirling in front of the mirror in this dress, and she's looking at herself, and I said, "Are you being vain?" And she looks at me. She's 2 years old. "I'm not vain." She says, "I'm gorgeous." I'm like, all right, that is not a boy activity at all.
Not.
You go, girl.
Yeah, you go, girl. But I thought, I don't know if I should discipline this or not. I don't know, because it's hilarious.
Strange.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of hardwired in because my daughter does this. You put a fluffy dress on her and she's just spinning that thing all over the place. But what's interesting is that the difference between my son and daughter. My son is very reserved. But my daughter is the one that's like, "Oh, please come climb off that. You do not need to jump off that." She's
really?
the daredevil.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Really?
Yeah, that's not the way that my girls are. I mean, I've got one that's like that, but my son is the one that's just not. All things aren't firing in his head.
No.
he's just.
Well, isn't it true? Don't you think that? I don't know. I grew up a boy. Your brain turns off at about 13 and doesn't come back on till about 24.
I
Or
agree.
30.
Maybe so.
agree.
I find it interesting, though, that there are these unique traits that girls have that are definitely, I feel like, unique, but yet then we have the expressions of personality, like Kyle's mentioning. I mean, some girls are just more tomboys. They want to, I have one daughter that's like, she wants to climb trees and she wants to do all kinds of stuff and let's go camping, let's do this, that. And she's very much a girl, but, she expresses that part of her personality.
Yeah, I've got one tomboy and one princess. I think that's the way I would divide them up. And although the tomboy's becoming more of a princess as she gets older.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
This is definitely one of the things. Like my boys, they'll get up. They're like, they need to get ready for school, and they'll come downstairs, they'll be dressed, and you still need to put your socks on. Yep. And by the way, you probably need to wet down your hair and do something with it because you've got a little, my girls, they didn't used to do this, but at a certain point they're like, okay, they're up in the bathroom, typical, they're getting ready, and they've got to process how they look, and they're definitely working
14
on it.
hours
and
in
that
there.
and that's not being coached at all. That just comes out.
Yeah, I think that does happen naturally. I don't think we set up the girls to like, they're still in the bathroom. Oh, I got to get ready, Dad. It's like, okay, now I know it's going to be 2 hours before we can leave.
I will say something about my girls. All four of them have managed to be able to wrap me around their little fingers, where Chase was never able to do that. And with Chase, it was kind of like, suck it up, man.
Yeah.
Be a man.
But with the girls, it's just, they've got some kind of wild power over you.
But I think that has to do with your hard wiring. I think men are hardwired to protect a little girl.
Yeah, I see the same thing in Rachel and Michael. Michael falls down. It's like, come on, get up, rub some dirt in it.
Rub some dirt in it.
Fine.
Kyle's school of paramedic. Like, oh my word, put some leaves on it.
Put some leaves on it. You're fine.
I hear the music playing. You're listening to a bullpen episode of Disclosure from the Voice of Prophecy, and we've got a bunch of guys in studio today talking about dads and daughters, and we're going to talk a little bit about whether or not there's a unique bond that takes place between a girl and her father when we come back from these messages. You are going to want to get a pen or paper and write down what you're about to hear in this message because it's a valuable, valuable resource from the Voice of Prophecy. We'll take a little break and be right back.
Are you searching for answers to life's toughest questions like, where is God when we suffer? Can I find real happiness? Or is there any hope for our chaotic world? The Discover Bible Guides will help you find the answers you're looking for. Visit us at BibleStudies.com or give us a call at 888-456-7933 for your free Discover Bible Guides. Study online on our secure website or have the free guides mailed right to your home. There is never a cost or obligation. The Discover Bible Guides are our free gift to you. Find answers in guides like, Does my life really matter to God? And A Second Chance at Life. You'll find answers to the things that matter most to you in each of the 26 Discover Bible Guides. Visit BibleStudies.com and begin your journey today to discover answers to life's deepest questions.
We are back from the break, and we had quite a discussion during the break. You're listening to a bullpen episode of Disclosure. My name is Sean Boonstra. I'm in studio with Kyle, Alex, and Palmer. We're talking about dads and daughters. And guys, you know, it's often said that dads and daughters have a unique bond that is different than, say, the one that a mother and son might have, or that a dad and son might have, and I heard some of you refer to that a little bit. We were talking about double standards and so, but do you think it's true that dads and daughters have a unique bond in the family situation? And if it's true, how do you describe that?
I was thinking about it because, I mean, so you talk about a mother and a son and a dad and a daughter, and I was processing that. Do I feel like there's a really, really unique situation or relationship there? Possibly so. I was trying to find specific examples, though, and I guess I need to process it a little bit more. I'd love to hear what the rest of you think.
Well, I think it's interesting. You know, I'm sitting over here waiting for Alex because he's got the most, you know,
the most children,
the most children, and the most
You're
experience
the most
in this.
Prolific man in the studio.
And I know, I know when I go home, you know, I try to bond with my kids over activities. And, you know, things that we do together, you know, let's go outside, let's work on, you know, different things around the house or things like that. And the way that I see my wife bonding with them is completely different. And so I don't know. I just kind of was wondering how Alex handles that.
No, I'm just laughing with that prolific comment there.
Only by one, though, because Palmer's got 4.
Palmer's got 4, yeah.
I had 4, and then Alex went and one up to me. I told him, man, I'm done. There's
I think you
nothing.
I think you ought to have another one.
Yeah, well, you keep saying
I think
that.
between the two of you, you own a third of the children in
They have a
in the
baseball.
office.
They have a baseball team.
Yeah.
And if
between the two
Debbie
of them.
happens to be not feeling good some morning, Alex is like, oh, there you go. You guys are going to have another one. I'm
Nothing
like, no,
scares you in
no.
middle age like
Yeah,
your wife
no.
throwing up.
My oldest is 13. I don't need another one right now.
Well,
What did we eat
at our
last
age,
night?
at our age, we just hope we hope this on everybody else too. It's
No.
like, please, you know, somebody else join us. But you know, there is a bond. I was thinking about the bond between me and my mother. My father wasn't there as much for us, and so I got to thinking about what that looked like. And but in that case, she sort of had to play both roles. She had to be father. She had to be mother. And in our home, it's not quite like that for my girls. I think there is a special bond. So, but for me, it differs in depending on the child. My oldest girl, she is a second mother to the rest of the kids, and she has just a very strong motherly instinct. Even I guess Kaylee is the second youngest now. And when she was born, Celeste, who was about 8, just took it upon herself to raise her.
Wow.
Stacy was still working as a nurse, and I was pastoring full time, and so she would walk around with little Kaylee on her hip, just like Mom would, and she takes her around, she feeds her a bottle, she changes her diaper, and it's
And you don't have to program that into.
You don't have to
daughter,
do that, yeah.
No.
Whereas my son looks at her and says, oh, "That's tough that you got a dirty diaper. I don't know what you do about that."
Yeah, it looks at it and goes, well, Dad, that's your problem.
That's your problem.
The
yeah.
box says good to 14 pounds. I'm not changing it till it's full.
Changing it at all, man. Not changing at all.
Super absorbent. I like what Kyle referred to, and that is I notice it in my family, maybe not specifically answering this question, but for me, I gravitate towards activities. So with my boys, it's like jump on bikes, and, activity is definitely where we're connecting. But I notice, again, what Debbie does and what I try and do more, but it doesn't come as naturally, and that is just to sit down. Slow down, sit down, have a conversation, and process stuff with them, with my daughters.
Right.
And that doesn't come naturally, but that's definitely where they connect more. That's definitely where there's a deeper relationship.
I know there's something unique with dad and daughter. When we had our first child, we never wanted to know what we were having ahead of time. And we had a little girl. And then we find out we're expecting again, and I'm thinking, please, God, please let it be another little girl, because there was something there that I really like being a dad to a little girl. It might be the protective thing, because every boy growing up wants to be somebody's hero, and I'm a hero to these little girls.
Yeah.
And it showed up. I don't have a son, so I don't have a reference point like you folks do. But so I only compare it to the way I grew up in a house full of guys. But Here's what happened. As the girls got older, we were mommy and daddy, and suddenly Jean gets demoted from mommy to mom, and I still haven't been demoted from daddy to dad. I'm still daddy, and one of them's 20 years old, and I'm like, and that irritates Jean to no end. How come you're still daddy? It's like, because I'm daddy.
There is something there, and I think for me the best way I can describe this is are you in front of me or are you behind me? And with the boys and the girls.
Oh.
So for Chase, at this age, he looks at me and he says, step back, I'll take care of this. For the girls, it's like, Daddy, and they're hiding behind me type thing.
Oh, that's a great way.
And it's just a difference in the way they're wired.
And you, of course, don't hate that.
And I don't hate that at all because I'm wired that way too. And so I'm loving it. You know, just stand behind me.
Well, in another segment, we're going to get to daughters and dating here in a little bit. Yeah. And so the daughter behind
Get ready,
you thing,
Alex.
I know what to do about that.
Yeah, we'll come to that in a little bit. I don't know, Kyle. You think there's something unique in a dad-daughter bond that's different than a dad-son?
Oh, absolutely. My little girl still likes to cuddle up, and my son's like, "Nah, I don't need any of that, Dad. Just you sit there or you play or whatever." But my little girl, it's like, "Oh, Dad's home." She still runs to me when I come through the door, get a big hug and stuff. And I wouldn't trade that for the world.
You will be trading it when she turns 14. Right?
But I was thinking, when you were talking about. You got a girl first, and you were completely happy with that. We
thrilled.
We had my son first, and I was thinking, oh, thank you, Lord. The balance of testosterone has been restored in the greater family. I had recently lost my dad, and so having another boy that was very special to me, and we named him after my dad. And then when I found out that we were having a girl, I didn't know how to handle it.
Really?
Because I literally do not know how to handle women because it's like it's just such an emotional.
Yes, your wife tells us the same thing.
Yeah,
she dropped by the office.
Yeah. Kyle doesn't know what's going on. But and then after we had her, the first moments, and you're holding, and it's like. Oh, I love this already. It's going to be okay.
I was so worried about growing up with so many sisters and only having a younger brother, and I just had all of these girls, and then I come into my marriage and we have 2 girls first, and so you talk about the balance, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? I'm stuck with all these girls. Stuck is the wrong word. I love my girls. but I wanted some boys too, and I had to wait a little while, and then we evened up the score, and because they're twins. So in one pregnancy, we were like, yes, we're equal.
Yes.
I think the one that wanted another boy in my family was actually Chase.
He wanted a brother.
Absolutely.
He wanted a brother. With this last one, well, first when we told him that we were going to have another one, his reaction was, "This is so embarrassing." But after he got over that, then he really wanted a brother. And so he was a little disappointed when Cora came. But now he loves her, and she's got him wrapped around her little finger too now.
Of course, yeah. I guess that would be true. Did you find that he kind of acts as, you talked about the girls mothering the younger ones. Does Chase step into the protector role ever? Does he feel protective of his sisters?
He does. He very much. I think that in his mind, he is me when I'm gone, and that does add a level of stress for him as well, because at 15 he just really still can't do the things that I can do, but he wants to make sure that he tries, and he's very hard on himself if he doesn't make it. He's just very hard on himself, and so. It's interesting to watch them, but they all have very strong personalities. I'm not really sure it's a personality thing. I think it's just a hardwired thing. Probably the one child that has the strongest personality is my oldest daughter, and she is just absolutely insane. I mean, this girl is beyond nuts. And I remember when she was a little tyke. She was tiny and could barely walk, could barely talk. I was in the kitchen. And I had opened up, we had an island, and I'd opened up one of the drawers, and I'd left it open while I was doing some things. She came around the corner, and she saw it open and thought, I need to close that. So she wrapped her fingers around the top of the drawer, and she slammed it as hard as she could before I could get to her. And then I watched. It was very interesting. She made no noise. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She pulled her hands out. She got flush red. She shook her hands out. She was just staring at that drawer. She put her hands back on it, and she did it again. And I ended up watching her. She did it about 5 different times. Never
How old was
cried. She maybe 2 or so.
Wow.
She never cried throughout that whole thing, but just got redder and redder, beet red at the end when she was going to try it again. And I just picked her up, called my wife, and said, "We are in so much trouble."
I'm going to control this drawer. It's not going to control me.
Exactly. And it's been like that with her. She has the motherly instinct. But man, don't mess with her because she'll just literally kill you.
She's a mother bear. A mother bear.
I had an interesting moment when Natalie was just an infant, and she's laying on her blanket, and she's pretty young. I can't remember what. Gene could tell you exactly what day everything happened.
Yeah.
I don't know what month it was or anything, but she's trying to roll herself over on the blanket and can't do it yet. She's flopping around like a trout in the bottom of a canoe. And I have this conflict going into my heart. I'm thinking, that little girl needs you. Flip her over. And then I sat back thinking, no, she needs to learn to flip herself over. This went on for like 27, 28 minutes. And then I found myself admiring her persistence. I mean, you're talking about her slamming the drawer over and over. And I'm thinking, no, I'm just going to watch this out. And I think I learned something about God that day. It's like sometimes he lets me
wrestle
because... Yeah. And the big moment for me, the aha, was when she finally flipped herself over and she was just a baby and she looks at me and makes eye contact. And at that second, it's like she was saying, "I did it." And I'm like, awesome. You did it. Mm-hmm. And yet, so I struggled. I wanted to protect her and do it for her.
Right.
And I really, I don't know. There was that, you did it. And I thought, just learned something about God. Mm-hmm. I just learned something about God. That's
Absolutely.
why he lets me struggle sometimes.
And maybe we step in there too many times.
Maybe so.
Not giving them the opportunity.
I feel like I did that with my son. Like, it's the first one, and so you're just like, oh, what do you need? Okay, I'll flip you over and let's do this. And the second one, we're just like, well, you'll figure it out. And she's the one with the stronger will now, and it's like, oh man, And now I'm going through that with my son, letting him fail and.
Well,
that's the dance of a parent, trying to figure out when you should intervene and when you pull back and let them learn a lesson.
Yeah, sometimes you got to, let them touch the hot stove.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. I hear the music again. When we get back, I want to talk about, what are some of the unique needs, perhaps, that a daughter would have in a family relationship that a father brings to the equation that maybe a mother doesn't, and what are some of the needs a daughter might have from her father that a son wouldn't, and so on. But the music is playing. You do want to take advantage of these offers. They're amazing. You want a chance to study the Bible and really understand it for yourself? You want to get a pen and paper and write down the following information. You're going to hear it here on the spot. We have the world's most amazing Bible resources. We'll be right back.
Disclosure is just one of the programs brought to you by the Voice of Prophecy, like the audio adventure program Discovery Mountain. Discovery Mountain is a weekly Bible-based program for kids of all ages and backgrounds. Your family will enjoy faith-building stories with Jake Donovan, Mr. Simon, and others in this small mountain town. Each summer, campers visit Discovery Mountain, where they sing songs, learn about God, and reenact a Bible story with the help of drama teachers Miss Wendy and Miss Tamara. With 24 full episodes every year and programming every week, your family will have something uplifting to listen to every week. Listen to episodes on demand and watch video features from Director Doug at discoverymountain.com or on your favorite podcast platform. That's discoverymountain.com.
We are back from the break with the bullpen. We're talking dads and daughters and doing it from a Christian perspective. Of course, I've got Kyle and Alex and Palmer with me in studio. Everybody here has a daughter or many. And we're talking a little bit about some of the things we've learned. And the question that I asked just before the break was, what does a father bring to the family that a daughter might need, that a mother doesn't provide? Or what would that need of that daughter be, maybe, that a son wouldn't have? Why does God have a father in the home? Ideally, I know some of you out there don't have a father in the home. We're not trying to critique that in the slightest, but ideally, we're talking ideally. What does a father bring to the equation that a little girl needs?
There I am. Found myself.
Yeah. You got to quit wandering away during the break.
I keep going away. Hey, listen, I mentioned this before, but I grew up in a home where my dad wasn't around much.
Right.
I've been married now for 19 years, and
I don't know why Stacy stays that long.
I don't
honestly.
either. And it's been good at times. It's been crazy at times. It's been awful at times. Marriage is hard. We have gone from enjoying each other's company to being at each other's throats at times and having to work through issues.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I talked to one guy, one
we live
pastor.
in marital bliss.
One pastor one day that said he had never had a fight with his wife in like 15 or 16
liar.
years. I was like, you are a liar, man. Yeah. You are a liar.
Neither that or really passive.
Yeah, exactly. So I finally sat down and thought about this a few years ago, and I realized that some of the problems that we have in our marriage when they show up are actually more an issue with me than anything else. And it's because I never had a father there to teach me how to deal with a wife. And my mom
deal with a wife.
We're
Stacy, he'll be home at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that there's an element there where each parent bestows something, the example of something.
Sure.
And so for me and my daughters, I think they need to see a healthy husband working,
yes,
so that they can get an idea of what that's like. And for my son, he needs to see a healthy husband treating a wife in a godly way. And when you miss out on those things, I think you just go in, half-cocked into a relationship.
You know what's interesting that you say that? My 20-year-old, I guess I'm not supposed to know what I'm about to say, and here it goes out on the air, but she said to her mother, my wife, a little while ago, she's in the dating world, and it's like, not every guy's like daddy. And I think, good. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Not that you want to marry your father or someone exactly like him, but I've always prayed, God, let me at least set an example as to what she should be looking for in a godly husband.
Well, I think, that's one of the common things that we talk about with raising kids and relationships and dynamics like this is that you can talk about examples and read about examples, but people learn from observing and seeing. And I think that's one of the important things that I was going to say, just echoing what Alex said, and that is they need a role model of what it means to have a healthy marriage and what healthy relationships between the two genders actually look like. And that's going to set them up for expectations when they meet a man. So I think you see, and this is unfortunately what happens, maybe it's a discussion, question I think coming up, but what you see in your childhood will you will exhibit some of those same things and tendencies as an adult. Absolutely. So if you see a healthy, great marriage and a great relationship, you're likely going to go into that with those expectations and understanding those dynamics. Hopefully you meet a healthy spouse. But if you don't, if you see a disaster, and I've seen this, I see situations, unfortunately, where a daughter comes from a broken home, and she just really, really has a difficult time with, her father figure, if there is one, and she's like, I'm never going to marry anybody like that in my life. And then she goes out and gets into a relationship, and she just gravitates towards these broken situations, which are awful. So I think the antithesis of that is us being great role models in marriage, godly men, and I think that's definitely what our daughters need from us.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. And more than that, I don't want to just model. It's my prayer, and I know I don't do this anywhere near perfectly. I don't want to just model what a husband should look like or what they should be in a home. I want them to learn something about their Heavenly Father, because as a pastor, I've had so many people come to me, and they actually had an abusive father, especially women. And they had an abusive father, and they've come to hate the fact that God is described as Father in the Bible. They feel they feel antagonism toward the concept because
That's
of a bad father. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and that's hard to deal with. In fact, I think you reminded me. We just had a question that came over the info line pertaining to that, and how do you deal with these fathers that were abusive?
Sure.
So we need to answer that. That's a big question in today's society.
Sure it is.
Yeah, and I think when I look back at my father, it makes me look at God and understand how He can be a loving God and be, a disciplinarian at the same time.
Right.
Because there was that balance there, and so that's kind of what I struggle with is, how do I put the balance together in my life for my kids.
Yeah.
Spiritual leadership is definitely one of the things that I listed in this category. Absolutely, Sean, that you were talking about, because especially when kids are young, that's your picture of God is your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I remember as a little boy thinking God must look exactly like my dad. I always thought he had a black beard because Dad had a black beard. All right, let's get to the obvious one. I know a lot of people are waiting for this, but your daughter's getting older, starting to show interest in the opposite sex. Your daughter's 3. She's not showing interest yet. She probably thinks boys are icky still. And
I sure hope so.
yeah, I think so. But what, as a father now, let's talk about what men bring to the family that daughters might need or be able to take advantage of. What do you want mine are 17 and 20, so they're both fully well aware of the opposite sex, and it comes sooner in their lives than you hope it will. What do you want your daughter to know about boys?
Well, let me answer that first.
Go, Alex.
Because what I want to start with what I want my daughters to know about me.
Okay.
That's where I want to start. And what I make sure they know is that I was in law enforcement for many years. and I have settled certain things in my mind about what I will do and not do. And I just kind of gently let them know that I still have it.
Yeah.
I can still bring it, so
I will kill the boy.
I will kill him.
Yeah.
I have this shirt that says my wife got it to me. It's you know how you have MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Well, they found a shirt that says Dad, and it is Dads Against Daughters Dating.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I wear that everywhere. I walked into a pizza joint one day here in Colorado. There were 2 girls. They were scantily dressed and they were getting pizza, young girls, and the one looks over and she reads my shirt and does a double take, hits the other one and is pointing at the shirt, and I'm like, oh yeah,
That's
absolutely. But yeah, that's and I think we all fear this because we're men.
Yeah, I know, and that's the hard thing, Alex, is my daughters say, why do you hate all these young men so much? What do you know about them? Never mind what I know about them. Like, how do you know about that, Dad? Never mind how I know about it.
Well, the thing is, I
was 16 once too.
That's right.
One of the things I think is that, well, it's maybe not always true, but I think sometimes, of course, young ladies, when they're dating, as much as they know, we can talk about the facts and we can talk about, directions that young men might want to go in dating. They are like, they want,
that's the most polite I've ever heard that.
It was quite polite.
Yeah, they really, they aren't naive, but they want to be like, okay, no, Dad, this guy is, he's different. He's not like that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, sure.
Well, they're looking for someone that's going to love them, that's going to be strong for them, that's going to be there for them. And I'm not saying that there aren't guys out there that want to be all that, but most guys are wired the same, and
they're not thinking.
They're not thinking. Well,
exactly.
they want one thing. They may be nice guys, but ultimately their hormones are driving them into one thing, and that's the one thing we want to keep our daughters from.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I read something the other day about obviously and I don't know all the medical terms, but in our brain we've got our conscious thought and our subconscious thoughts, right? And so actually when I was putting my notes down on this show and looking at this, I said, okay, so boys have a propensity to knowingly or unknowingly focus on physical connection early. And so this subconscious part of our
you were
brain
good.
is even working, like even if our conscious brain as a young man
Yep.
says, okay, this is we're gonna avoid this, our unconscious brain is
there's
working
a lot.
on
Yeah,
things.
there's a lot of unconscious brain with the young man.
Yes,
I tell
exactly.
you what, we're dancing around this a little bit, but I've told my daughters this, and I may be exaggerating a bit. Every teenage boy is a predator, and they are predators until they are 24 with a job. And,
That's right.
And it's like, Dad, how do you know that? And here's the other thing that I've tried to impress on the girls, though, is that girls have this idealized, it's going to be wonderful, I'm going to have a boyfriend, we're going to have a relationship, and that's what he's going to want too. No, that is not what he's going to want. And girls are far more likely, and now we know chemically why, or at least part of the reason why. In an intimate relationship, girls emit like 5, 6, whatever it is, times the oxytocin that a man does. That's why men are dogs. They will use a woman and move on, and they're not emotionally bonded. The girl is going to get far more emotionally bonded far more quickly and get hurt.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And the other one is like, if he's not a man now my daughter's 20 and stuff, and then she talks to guys who are 22, 23. If he's not a man now, he never will be. That's the other piece of
That's right.
advice that I've given
That's a good
them.
advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to steal that.
Yeah, if he's not a man now. So, well, I see the break is going to come soon, but let me ask this. What age is a daughter ready for dating?
42.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
That's a hot topic. You know what? We have debated this in my house because we're at that transitional age, and I've been nervous about this, and I kind of feel like maybe I'm old school. I'm like, okay, so this isn't a, of course, certainly as they get older, then there's more discussion topics about this. But I didn't, in the last while, I haven't outright said no to my daughter. But the idea is that we've encouraged her to, okay, if you want to have relationships with people, but serious dating. What's the point before high school? I know we talked about this in an earlier show,
Right.
but I'm encouraging her to wait until after high school, but
Yeah.
have relationships, trying to understand who boys are and what that looks like and how to have, communication with them. But
Well, you told me you were calling a couple of these boys on the side and just setting things straight. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know if your
Yeah.
daughter
Oh.
knew
Yeah,
that or
yeah.
not. but-
I've had,
Yeah, she does.
I've had some
Listen.
talks with boys.
yeah,
Have you really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one a while ago, much to my daughter's embarrassment, he was going to ask her to banquet. I said, well, you're going to make him ask me if that's cool with me. And I just want to see if the guy was a man
Yep.
or not, right? And he came and asked. I took him for a walk. I put my arm around him. I said, are you a gentleman, young man? I took him for a walk away from everybody. Are you a gentleman? Well, I sure hope so. I said, I sure hope so, too, because I will find out. Do you understand? And he turned red a little bit, and yeah, I understand. I said, I will find out, and I'm not afraid of prison. All right, there's the music.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so
wrapping it
there's
up.
the music. We're going to come back and talk about dads, daughters, and dating, which I know we've got plenty to say
Oh,
on.
yeah.
And yeah, so we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Are you searching for answers to life's toughest questions? Like, where is God when we suffer? Can I find real happiness? Does my life really matter to God? Or is there any hope for our chaotic world? The Discover Bible Guides will help you find the answers that you're looking for. Visit us at BibleStudies.com or give us a call at 888-456-7933 for your free Discover Bible Guides. Study online on our secure website or have the free guides mailed right to your home. There is never a cost or obligation. The Discover Bible Guides are our free gift to you. Find answers in guides like A Second Chance at Life. You'll find answers to the things that matter the most to you. Visit BibleStudies.com and begin your journey today to discover answers to life's deepest questions.
And we're back. I think, are we already in the fourth segment of this show?
We
I
are.
think we are.
Yep.
And we're talking dads, daughters, and especially from a Christian perspective. And the question was asked before the break, at what age is your daughter ready for dating? And Alex threw 42 out on the table.
That's 42.
42. You really want them living at home till they're 42
No.
and not found a husband?
No.
Yeah. We say that, but that's not really what we want for them.
Yeah, let's watch your
No, but-
oldest daughter wait until then,
Right.
based on what you said earlier in the show, Alex.
Yeah. Now, Kyle, your daughter's 3, but you said something interesting during the break. You've got a plan in your head, and it's actually the plan that I've implemented. So,
Yeah, and that is, when they get to that age, and probably before that is when we will be talking about these things. Is dating is for finding the person that you can spend your life with, and that you guys you work together. Not only is this a nice physical relationship, but you have a spiritual relationship. Everything is going to work together in the home, and and that's what I think, modeling this at home for your kids, that becomes very, very important, because I think all girls kind of go out and they look for someone like their father. I think that's how hardwired.
yeah, and they'll never admit that, but
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Well, and I think that most guys end up with a girl that it in some way reminds them of their mom in some way. Not I'm not getting crazy here, but I'm just saying, if it was modeled well, you want to maintain that standard of living.
sure.
You don't want to go to and have some kind of crazy life. Nobody
Right.
wants that, and so.
So, what's your plan for when she's ready to date?
Oh, no, see, that's what I'm saying is it comes long before that,
Right.
and you say, hey, this dating thing, this is for choosing a husband. This isn't for going out and having fun, because if you're going out and having fun, you better be taking 15 other people with you.
Yeah.
that's right.
It better
That's
not
right.
be just you and this.
the two
guy.
of you having fun.
That's
yeah,
right.
exactly.
I agree, though, with one thing, and it goes back to a point I made earlier in the program that you said, Kyle. If you see a husband and wife relationship modeled very well, and the husband treats and respects his wife excellent, and vice versa. If a daughter gets into a relationship with somebody that it's going off the rails, she's going to say, wait a second
Wait,
here,
this
this
is
isn't
not
right
right.
for me. I'm not going to be treated that way.
Yeah.
And that's why the modeling is really important.
Mm-hmm.
I think the line that I've taken, and here's what you do discover as your girls get older, is that you have a line, and
That's right.
it's a very fuzzy line, right? You're not in as much control as you pray you're going to be. However, what we've been saying is, look, dating is for finding a spouse. Are you looking for a spouse when you're in high school? No, you're not.
No.
You're not ready for
No,
that
I
yet.
wasn't.
Yeah.
No, you're not. Well, no, exactly. Most teenage boys aren't looking for a spouse in high
Yeah.
school. They're looking for something else. And
Now,
so
that's
I
not to say it can't happen, though.
no, it's
Sure.
true. It does happen, and it also doesn't mean that you're going to be able to circumvent all feelings. And I know my daughters
Sure.
have at times they're going out with somebody, but we don't allow going out on a date. Because if you try to say you can't have any relationship or anything with any boy ever, it's just going to go underground, and you're not aware
That's
of it.
exactly
Yeah.
right.
So I don't let it go underground, but there is no going on a date because you are not yet looking for a
spouse,
husband. Yeah.
So with my girls, especially Ashley, who's older, I mean, we've done that. It's like, okay, you can go out in group, you can do group activities. If there's going to be, I know at the local school here, they have this prom or whatever they do, and okay, you
Banquet,
can
yeah.
go to a banquet, you can go out with somebody for a banquet, but you're not going to go out on an individual date with somebody.
No, I will shut that down. I will
and
find
just
them.
like you were saying earlier, Sean, for guys, it's a catch and kill mentality. All right, I've caught it. I brought it home. All right, great, I'm done.
You
time-
just
time to
made
go
me
out.
hate young men more than I ever have.
As a
That
trope.
was very descriptive, Kyle.
Yeah,
it
thanks.
was.
No, and then
And there
for-
will be
for women,
there
though-
will be hunting and killing afterwards again.
right.
Yeah.
yeah, by someone much more experienced. But with women, they get emotionally attached,
Yes.
and that is such a harder bond to break for women. And so
Right.
it's like you don't want to get in there with a guy that's not serious.
That's right. And
And
it's harder. We've underlined, look, and you can say it all you want. You didn't listen to your own parents,
That's the truth.
but we try to tell them, look, it's so much easier to get into a relationship and emotionally involved than it is to get back out of it.
Oh man.
And I think that there's a level of emotional attachment that the guy has as well. He just doesn't realize it's happening. And if he's in and out of all these relationships, by the time he gets into his 20s and he starts maturing, he starts thinking through, then he's got a lifetime of scars that he's developed.
Baggage, yeah.
And so we need to sort of protect that as well. But as I think about marriage and I think about dating, I go back to Genesis chapter 2, and that to me is the model of what God would have us do. And it's interesting to me that God creates Adam, but then he brings Eve to Adam. And so as I'm talking to my children, I want them to understand that this choosing a mate, this dating thing, is a very spiritual thing. It's a God-centered thing,
right?
And yes, you may end up having more than one dating experience or boyfriend or girlfriend, but the point is that when we go out looking for someone to spend a lifetime with, that should be done in prayerful consideration. That
Absolutely.
should be asking the Lord, lead, show, take me to the right individual that you have in store for me, and let God bring that person to you. And I agree with Sean. When you're in grade school, when you're in high school, I just don't think that's the appropriate age. That kind of processing is not happening for most young people. They're not working through all of these levels of spirituality and allowing God to lead at that level and bring an individual and doing the waiting that sometimes is so imperative in a spiritual walk with the Lord. And so for me and my wife, it's college. When they get to college, and maybe halfway through college, late college, then start working through that and let God bring someone.
We're pleased that our oldest, who is in college, she's a junior, and she's actually made a list saying, these are the qualities I'm looking for in a husband, and I'm going to pray over it every day, Dad. And
Amen.
I know he'll have, that makes me happy.
Yeah, that is fantastic, because when in my own life, I screwed up a lot. And
I can see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was 30 that I actually got married.
Wow.
And it was,
and that was luck.
No, that was not luck. It was God. Because it was finally when I came to the place where I said, okay, I'm not very good at this. Lord, it's you handle this for me, because and I did the same thing your daughter's doing. I wrote down, these are the qualities I'm looking for. This is what I want the rest of my life to look like. Bring this person into my life, and it wasn't 6 months.
Really?
One of the things I was going to say as Alex was talking, I was thinking about the fact. Here's what I think some of the facts are. Relationships are incredibly important in this life, and I think that the right relationship with a significant other or a spouse can bring some of the greatest joy on earth or some of the greatest pain, because relationships are really foundational. And so I think a message to the young people out there is that, if you want to date and if you want to find somebody, go for a serious relationship, wait until after high school, and then definitely prayer-led and God-led in these relationships, because you want to experience everything that God has to offer. And even down on this earth that's sinful, we can still have a lot of amazing joy with these key relationships.
Sean, some time ago, I think this may have been a sponsorship sermon that you had preached, where you were talking about the throne and God being on the throne, but then you asking God to step off the throne.
Can I just have it for a couple of minutes?
Let me make a decision on this one. And I think that with relationships, we do that all the time. And so one thing that I want to express to my girls is God cares about this too, very much. And if you allow him to lead, he's going to bring you the right person.
Yeah, and I think not only that, but I think it starts, and I heard this from someone that I worked with a while back, is they started praying for their children and for the spouses of their children long before they started dating. That the Lord, would be preparing their children, and they would also be preparing their spouse and that family. And
that's
that,
right.
All that would be in the Lord's will. And I thought, man, that's really powerful. I had never thought of that before, that I should be praying for the spouse of my daughter, the husband of my daughter, long before.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
you should be praying for whoever marries the hornet.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's going to have to be a special man.
A few minutes left, guys. What has raising daughters taught you about God?
That's a good question. Patience.
That was my first word too, patience. The other thing I was going to say is giving freedom even when the consequences might hurt me.
Yeah.
You've got to give them a little bit of space, but definitely tons and tons of patience.
Yeah, that's the hard one. It's like, am I really going to be able to release them into the wild?
Right.
And
right.
God releases us into the wild. He doesn't force our decisions, and He's waiting for us when we want to come back. And that one, patience is a big one.
I think another one is forgiveness. I'm just a sinful man. I'm like the Bible says, we're but filthy rags. And and as I look at my time with my kids, I haven't been the best father. I always I'm a workaholic, and you just deal with those issues. And there's a level of forgiveness that my girls have extended to me.
Really?
And I look at that and I think I don't deserve any of that, and yet I don't deserve forgiveness from my Heavenly Father either. And so it's just great to be able to see God in people, and I've seen it in my kids.
Yeah, one of the things that I notice in my kids, and right now, because they're much younger than yours, is God really wants to spend time with us. They look forward. My son comes in the morning and kind of wakes me up, and let's go do this or this, before you get to work, and it's on their minds constantly to be spending time with you, and they really want that bond, and I think the Lord wants the same thing from us.
Yeah. Rewarding moment for me a little while ago on my keychain. I'll rattle my keys so in Radio Land they know what I've got. I turned 50 recently, and my daughter gave me a little hammer to hang on my keychain. I said, "What's this for?" She said, "That's thank you for helping me build my life."
Oh, man.
Wow.
And it's like,
all right.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. We're not going to cry.
Yeah.
We're not going to cry.
Yeah.
It's awfully dusty in the room. But it's like, yeah.
That's awesome.
And what did I learn about God? It's like, He smiles when it goes right, and He loves me when it's not going right.
That's right.
And what God wants for me is success, because that's what I want from my girls. I want success. I want them to get safely through, and there's no getting every kid safely through their childhood. There just isn't. But He smiles. God smiles. It's Ezekiel 16. He finds this baby in a field. It's describing Israel. It's a baby girl that's abandoned, and He wants to protect her and raise her and love her. And it's taught me a lot about God, I think. And there's the music.
That's it.
We're out of time. Just a warning to all the young men out there. Yes, we all have daughters. You are not allowed within 5 miles of them. We have injunctions against all of you. 10 miles of you.
And I was in law enforcement for a long time.
Yeah, and Alex knows how to handle you and make you disappear. Thanks for coming in, guys. Talk about dads and daughters. I don't know that we did a perfect job of it, but it is a special relationship, and it has a lot to teach us about our relationship with God. Take a little bit of time this week. Go to voiceofprophecy.com and have a look at the astonishing Bible study resources that this ministry has provided for you. My name is Sean Boonstra. You've been listening to A Bullpen, and until next time, God bless.